We've gone through the history of Malawi. We've gone from the times of the Akafula. We introduced the Chewas, and then we spoke about the Yawas. We spoke about the downfall of the Malawi Empire, or the Confederacy. We've introduced the British into the equation. And we've touched a little bit on the political situation in Malawi. We've spoken about how the founding father of Malawi failed Malawi currently. And now Malawi has had an experiment of autocratic rule, and Malawi has also had an experiment with multi-party dispensation. But still, Malawi is one of the poorest countries in Africa, if not the entire continent. But we wouldn't be here if there were not people who wish to see a better future for Malawi. So, here it is, MRP and its strategy to put Malawi on course. So, starting with the first question. Why MRP? And as I said, Malawi had its experiment with multi-party dispensation. What does you being voted into power, what difference is it going to make? Because I'm a member of the youth. I must highlight that. I don't know Kamuzu's reign. I don't know anything that happened before the 90s. So what is it that you're going, because there's a possibility that I don't even have my name on the voters roll this year. But what can you say to me? What hopes can you give me? Because I've already lost them.
Right. MRP should be described as a political party with a revolution mindset. A political party that came to fix what was not fixed as we enter into democracy. Democracy came with high hopes, just exactly like how we had hopes in 2020. Malawians, particularly the youth in your generation, you expected a complete change of political landscape that would translate into economic transformation as from 2020. We had the same feeling in 1993. After 28 years of one-party state and autocracy. So we believe that once we change into a new system of government, from one-party state to multi-party democracy, there will be a transformative Malawi, socially, economically, even livelihoods. But what happened was, we only changed the system. What changed was, to me, I can say it's cosmetic change. We changed one face for another, but the rules and the policies of governance remained the same. We talked last time, we said, this person that came to change or to enter into multi-party democracy was once a Secretary General of the dictatorship party under Gamuzban.
He was a minister of no
He was a
portfolio.
minister without portfolio. So this is the very person who came with a promise of transformation. But you find, and we can say that the whole system of governance did not change. What changed was the face of leadership. So we are facing the same experience we faced in the past 28 years of one-party state. I'll give you a few examples. There's no tangible development. There is violence perpetrated by politics. There is tribalism. There is nepotism. All these are things that we faced in one-party state. And we said we need to depart from that policy, go into something new, unite the country, reconcile, and move forward. That did not happen. So this is why we are here to fix what was not fixed. And now we have double things to do. We need to fix what was not fixed in 1994, but now we need even to fix the broken system that this government of 2020 failed to fix, because they came in with a promise that we are coming to clean the rubble, fix the broken system.
This is 2020.
That's 2020. So now we have double assignments. One, to fix what was fixed in 1994, and again to fix the broken system of 2019 that the new government promised that they are going to fix. They have not fixed. Now you can see that it's a trend. We wanted to change from one party state to multi-party. We only changed leadership. We did not change anything. System of governance, lifestyles, policies remain the same. Now we say, no, this government has failed. This multi-party dispensation did not flourish. So there's a need to change, because now the system had completely been broken. So the new government of 2020 say we are coming to fix the broken system. Instead, they did not change the fix the broken system. The system has continuously getting blocked. So we have 2 or 3 tasks to fix. Now, if you ask me, then why MRP? In our country, we lack 2 or 3 things. You will not fix any country where there's no truth. You will not fix a nation where there's no justice. So, in our language movie, it's something that pierces in a truth. That's why we say movie, Wajunga. We are looking for justice. You understand? And apart from that, we need to find the truth, because this country looks like it's bent on lies. We don't want to face the truth. That is our biggest problem. That's why we came up to say there is a need for a revolution in this country to sweep that, fix that broken system, to sweep those policies that have been repeatedly from phase 1 of multi-party democracy up to this time when we are trying to transform the country.
I understand. And out of all of the things that you said, one thing that is clearly highlighted, especially because we could say that this is a string that has been running from multi-party dispensation to now. In 2020, we thought that would get a change, but a change did not come. What we noticed is that pre-90s, Malawi was divided. There was an aristocracy, which is the rich. In Britain, they would say the lords and the sirs and the madams.
Yes.
Right? That's where you find people like John Tembo and Miss Cecilia. Right? And the person who would bring in multi-party dispensation, the first president, was of that strain. Right? So how is movie going to be able to break down this aristocracy? I would like to believe that it has propaganda machines, sophisticated propaganda machines. And in many ways, if it is that you can say or you can feel like you control a country, you control it through the narratives that are spread. So how are you going to fight that sophisticated machine?
MRP was born with an idea of rebooting the system. We need to reboot the system by restructuring the whole institutional process of government. Because I'll tell you this, apart from leadership capability or leadership failure that the leaders that we have had so far, 5 of them, let me say 6, we can say they are failures, but if you look at the causes of their failures, somehow it is because of the institutional process. Okay. They came to inherit a system of one-party state.
So that
they did not restructure.
You're not necessarily fighting me on the point of aristocratic rule. You're fighting me on the bureaucracy that was put into place.
No, it's going to be a blanket institutional process of change or reform, because the system that was put in place by one-party state, when the multi-party government came, did not restructure, did not reform, they just continued with the status quo.
Meaning that under the constitution pre the 90s,
Yes.
the Ngwazi had ultimate rule, meaning the president of
Yes.
the country
Yeah.
had
Like a monarch, some kind.
full authority.
Some sort, yes.
So you're saying that even after independence,
We still
it
have
was
the same absolute power. Because you will find that most of our political parties that came before us, they always come with the same point that when we come in, we are going to trim presidential powers. But none of them does it when they get in. So it looks like it's just a ploy, trying to convince people that we are going to do what we expect. But deep down, they know they can't. Why? Absolute power has a lot of advantages. Because that's where corruption is, that's where violence is, that's where economic apartheid is, that's where tribalism is. So, for us, we were saying we need to restructure the system. And we don't just restructure the system because it also needs solid and strong leadership. What I mean is a leader that knows what is wrong. Because if you know what is wrong, you insist in fixing what is wrong. But if you don't know what is wrong, then obviously the system that is there, you can live on it, and you find that after 5 years you didn't make any change. There's no difference. So we need to make sure that we reform the institutions, the system of government, policies and rules. But I want to tell you, not all policies are bad, but they are now mismanaged. I'll give an example. There are other things that happen under one-party state. We had structures like foreign direct investments that were there, that were boosting our economy. But then when the multi-party came, they say, to them they say, we are introducing free market enterprise. We are introducing liberal economy. But that does not mean that you can do away with what was giving you the names to grow your economy. You don't get rid of them. You just intensify. And if there is to do with maybe taxations, rules and tariffs, you review them to suit the current environment so that you don't lose the people that you come with that were generating more income into your government. You understand? But when this democracy came, they just cut everything that was there completely, cut the neck. So many companies, in Malawi was one country that was assembling cars, buses. We were assembling small cars, we were assembling buses. But when the multi-party came, those companies were closed.
And what could be the possible reason why all of these institutions were closed? Or these structures?
Wow, fine. I think most of the people that we fought who were in exile will agree that the people that we gave power in 1994 didn't know what was happening.
What was happening in what regard?
In regard to say, why are we changing from one-party state to multi-party democracy? Because it was not just a matter of changing the system of government, it was also changing the lives of people, changing our economy, changing how we live. You understand? So the people that we put in power by then only thought we just need to change a leader. Not looking at the economic objectives, not looking at the social welfare, not even looking at governance structures. Because had they had this idea of how the economy grows, how the country moves with the economy, they would maintain some of the strategic investments that were there, foreign direct. We had a Casby company from Denmark that was producing and was giving us a lot because they would export that to Denmark and European countries. That was forex generation. We had this company that was assembling buses. We could export to Tanzania, to Zimbabwe. We exported even to Botswana. That is something that will generate forex in the country. But when multi-party came, the leaders that came, I'm telling you, someone who you worked with together, and now there's a new system that comes that sublets you too. And one of you appears to be the person who can do better against this one. you just go in with hatred. Bagirmus came in the government under Madabad democracy with hatred, saying everything that Kamuzubanda was doing was wrong. He did not look at the economic power that his government was running. He did not look at the social welfare that people were benefiting. He did not look at how governance was working in foreign direct investment relations, foreign relations. He did not consider that. What he did was to cut short everything.
But couldn't we say that all of these things were being cut short because of Malawi's position at that particular time? We agreed that to a certain extent Kamuzubanda could be said to be some sort of a puppet to the West.
Well, by then the country depended much on aid and what we call balance of payments from the colonial masters. That was 1994. This transformation that is coming in, whereby we have to economically be independent, was not there. Meaning, if there was any change of governance, it was supposed to continue, knowing that we get most of our support from our donors, that is the colonial masters and some international community, states. You understand? So you couldn't just block or break or cut off. You understand? Because if you do that, then you must know that you are killing the whole the country. You are killing the economic need of a nation. Now, you will only rely on balance of payments that you receive from donors. You are not making anything. So from there, you find that the international community came and said, now you must privatize all state-owned companies. And Bagir News was injected because they thought that was the reform that the democracy brings. That was the reform or transformation that Madabad democracy entails. He did not know that that was wrong. Because once you sell all the state companies to privatize them, you must know that that is now profit making by individuals. But you have a government to take care of people. You have a government to save. So if you are putting much emphasis on the private investors, then you should know that your people are going to suffer. Because these private investors, they are looking for profit. Yet when you have state company, somewhere, somehow you'll be able to subsidize for your people. You have a say in the trade or any investment that is taking place, looking at your people. For example, I'll talk about fertilizer. Our country is an agriculture-based economy. So whenever we think of how do we produce more production for agriculture, you think of fertilizer. So if you put fertilizer in the hands of private investor alone, without the hand of the government, you must know that your economy will collapse. Because that is the agriculture economy base. So you lose, because the investor will bring every production that he makes with a profit. While as a government, you need to subsidize to your people. Because somewhere, somehow, you are there to save. That is where the problem was. So all state companies were sold. And now, two questions. One, where did the money go? Because if you are selling state companies, then the money must be invested in some other industries. Initiatives that at least this one will save people. When this investor takes his profits and go, we have something that we are looking at, we are giving our people. That did not happen. The money that were collected in these sales of these state companies, nobody knows where it is. And it has not done anything, because as a leader or a government, you need to say, what we saw there, we did this. At least we could expand our agriculture industry. We could expand maybe animal husbandry, because our country don't have that complete. We only believe in agroeconomy, that is agriculture, production. We have not invested much in livestock. But that is one of the economy that can sustain rural people. Because if they have livestock, then they are doing agriculture. Life to them is enough. They will sell whatever they produce in agriculture. They can even sell livestock. That is the economy that Namibia is following. Many people are empowered in the local areas with livestock. They are empowered, they are encouraged to keep a lot of livestock because the land there is not agriculture based. So in our country, we have two advantages: agriculture based and animal husbandry based. We could do that both, but the money that came from privatization did not do anything. So that is where the problem is, and we need to fix that. And you see that all governments that came, 5 of them, 6 of them, none thought of fixing this problem. So what is happening now? Government is forced to go and buy fertilizer from the same private seller and now subsidize to people. That were happening before, but after 2020, there was this new program they called AIP. Something that did not work, has collapsed. We are a hungry country. We are a country that is running short of food all the time. This is harvesting time, but the food is already in shortage. We only harvested 1.1 million tons, yet for the country in a year, we need 3 million tons of food. We don't have that. You understand? That is where the problem is.
So, what I was getting from all that you spoke about is a deep lack of economical understanding.
Yes.
And the sort of reforms or policies that a government needs to have in order to thrive. I mean, it just reminds me of the South Korea issue.
Yeah.
I wanted to counter your point of the fact that many governmental organizations were privatized, with the fact that in South Korea there are a group of companies like the Samsung, LG, that are private companies. But then I thought of the fact that these companies are still sort of owned by the government in some way, because they are for Koreans, by Koreans, and any government policy or reform is opening the doors up for them to grow, meaning the private sector is strongly controlled by the government, which is something that I don't see in Malawi's situation or Malawi's case.
Let me challenge political parties in our country. Our country, it looks like it's going left when the world is going right. Are you listening? Whenever we are transforming or we are changing some policies or systems of government, we don't carry with the current situation as how the world is moving. We came to multi-party democracy during the time that the international community had intensified its grip on its colonial nations. We did not count on that. So they told us that you should sell all private companies state companies, because they are spending a lot. Government is failing to run because it's feeding a lot of affiliates, that is state companies and subsidiaries. Our leaders by then agreed, which was now a trap, to make us change, perennially, or permanently, to our colonial masters and international community. It needs a leader who will be able to argue to say, if I do that, then I'm going to starve my people. My government will be an enemy of the people. You understand? Now, in 2020, when we were changing this government, we changed it on the back that we need to fix the blocking system inside, because there has been stinking corruption. There has been stinking nepotism. There have been stinking legalism and stinking tribalism. So, and most of the institutions of government were not functioning as a country. They were functioning as a family entity, or as a club of people, not a national asset. So we said, no, let's fix this. Remove all that, so that now the country can show that it's now serving its people. That did not happen. So, one, you should also look at the situation of the world today. Without changes internally of politics, what do we do Our leaders did not have that idea in 2020. So 5 years down the line, we are now worse more than how we were in 2019. And I will tell you, Malawians are saying the Egypt we were was better than this Canaan that we were promised. Because here, everything is expensive. Now I'll tell you why. We also changed this, what we call transformation of 2020, without a formula. We did not know when we change, what are we going to do? We can't just go and fix the blocking system, not knowing what system we are going to put in place. So the leaders that were there did not see that. They just said, let's rush, we go and fix the blocking system, then we can move on. They did not have a blueprint of what they are going to do.
Okay, that I understand. But what I'm hearing in everything that you're saying is that it seems as if you're accusing Malawian leaders for not having, one, intelligence. And I'm not talking intelligence as in IQ.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about a general helm over the country and it's...
What you want to do.
A general helm over the country and its situation currently based off data.
Yes.
So I want to understand, how is MRP going to be able to counter that?
MRP, first of all, we have two things. We are going to fix what was blocking, what was not fixed in 1994, with something that will open the country. Number one, our country needs truth, our country needs justice. And for us to get that, there's a need of a line called reconciliation that needs to be developed. Because when you are looking for the truth, there are people that are going to be accused, there are others that are going to be offended. Now, how do we hold on to the country? Then we need to introduce reconciliation. There's a peace commission that was introduced in 2020, but it has not made any impact because there's no truth, there's no justice. And there's no way, if you don't find those two things, you can bring reconciliation. Reconciliation comes where the truth has been said, there is now justice, then forgiveness comes. That's where reconciliation comes. So that is one thing that needs to be fixed that they did not do in 1994. You understand? Now, what are we going to do with this process of failing to fix the blocking system? First of all, we need to know, once after we fix that, do we have a new blueprint on what we are going to do? So this is the issue. First of all, we restructure the whole system. We are going to, by restructuring the system, you are fixing the blocking system. By restructuring it, all institutions of government must be restructured. Because I'll tell you this, there are some in the system that don't even care whether government changes or not, as long as they are where they are and continue eating.
But you're speaking about corruption, and that is understandable. But now, if I am a person,
it's not only corruption
of the youth,
yeah,
I want to have an understanding of the technical, which is something that many African leaders do not give us.
Fine. What needs to be done when you are fixing that blocking system? We want to fix it. You must lay off the dead woods and look at the intelligent, active young people that must come and cushion the system that was just sleeping or gathering dust. Because today, the industries, the governance, they want operationalization. Something must move. But then you cannot expect people that have been there for ages that they'll move. They are better off and comfortable where they are. So you need to transform. Some of them must go home. Others must be rejuvenated. That this is the process and we are running on time. We need to make sure that by this period we have achieved A. By this period we go to B. You understand? But I'll tell you that politics of our country don't have that time frame. We wait for 5 years. And you must know that first year, second year, third year, it's time of continuing the process, the system that is in place, so that according to politics of Malawi, you must be rich. The fourth year and fifth year is time to think of next election. So you need to use resources for you to win another election, but you did not deliver. So it is now government is on its own, people are on their own. So MRP wants to make sure that we should entwine government,
is truly happening in the country? Your answer is you're going to involve the people more and hear their voices more.
we are going to introduce 3 types of governance or government. We are going to introduce what they call, in current English, decentralization of government system. In old English, we would say we are going to federalize our country. Some people argue to say, no, a small country cannot be federated because it will divide it more. But we are going to unite it more. How? If we introduce the federal government or federal system of government, or let me use a good English, decentralized system of government, we are going to empower people regionally or provincially that they should be able to do things that side other than looking at the central government. Because we are trying to break the chain of nepotism, break the chain of tribalism, and break the chain of selfishness. So, when we decentralize the government, that means in 4 regions, each and every region will be given its own mandate to run their affairs there, development-wise, economy-wise, even living style, social welfare. Now, that's number 1. Number 2, we are going to make sure that we introduce a system that is constitutional, but it has been bypassed by the previous governments. Section 5, or Chapter 5, Section 48, 79 of our Constitution says there will be a bicameral system of government, of parliament, meaning that there will be 2 houses of parliament. A parliament of politicians run by political parties, and a parliament of traditional leaders run by chiefs. You understand? Now, the governments that have been in place ever since 1994, that means 1964 to date, it has been a politician against the people. There's no proper engagement with the people. Why? Because the chiefs were left behind. Now, you will see few or several countries that have this bicameral system of government where there are senates in their countries. You will find that people are more involved, more than we who don't have the Senate House.
So essentially your answer is you're going to allow the people to govern themselves or give them a sense of authority.
Exactly. Because there will be now an arm of government which is the traditional leaders, the chiefs. The chiefs are the people. They live with the people there. So any problem that affects them, the chiefs will know and they'll bring it to the house. You understand? So that is direct engagement. The government directly engaging the people. But that is constitutional, but no government has implemented it. So we want to make sure that we activate it and it must work. We need 80 members of Senate to be in the House so that whenever Parliament or politicians are debating or deliberating, the chiefs must also be involved. I'll tell you this. After multi-party democracy, we have this politics of parliamentary elections, whereby the people vote representatives. We call them representatives of the people. But you will wonder that it's now 31 years after multi-party. Poverty in the villages is extreme, but they are representatives. Now, if you ask why are you not bringing development into rural areas or interior areas, you wonder that you will be surprised to know that they receive directions or directives from the political party they represent. Now, a political party is more like a business person. You want to make profit. So you look at your profit before you look at your consumers or maybe the people that buy from you. First, what are you going to get? So you may charge more. You can even, in other words, you are trying to punish the people for your profit. So this is why we say our country has failed because parliamentarians, are politicians. Yet traditional chiefs are not politicians. They are the people. So if we include them in the system of government, that means you are bringing the government to the people. Because whatever rule you make, traditional leaders are going to be involved. They will not allow any law to be passed when they do not support it according to the wishes and expectations of their people. You understand? So that has never been done, and you never see it in any manifesto of any political parties. 23 of them, we are the only people. But it's constitution. It's chapter 5, section 48 to 79. There's a section that says there shall be a House of Senate. Nobody implements it as from 1994. You understand? So that is what we want to do in order to make sure that we bring people close. We bring the government close to people. You understand? Don't bring people to the government, but government must go to the people. That's why we are introducing federal government, because now there will be a provincial government there, a government that will take care of the people that side. You understand? That will bring people closer, and most of the issues or challenges that people face will be addressed instantly because the government is with them. You understand? That is where we are special, and that's why we're born. Yeah.
The voices of the people. That is the number one point of moving what you know.
Yeah.
I don't remember which political party this was, or political story it was that I was listening to, but I remember before a president got into power, he had his cohort that were with him. Once he got past the first step, his foot crossed the boundary, he turned around and he arrested everybody who he came with and charged each and every one of them with corruption. Now, Malawi has its people who have been on top.
Yeah.
How are you going to be able to deal with them and bring on this revolutionary change lawfully, if I may ask?
One, we need to make sure that we intensify the law. Apart from intensifying the law, our country has got a very progressive constitution that is not being used or implemented.
Okay.
Our constitution is very clear, progressive and robust, but it has not been used because we know the culture and traditions of one-party state. So these things that we made in 1994, some of them are put in the cupboard. They must be go on holiday because that's not what we know. So what we need to do is just to activate the constitution, consolidate it, give it more energy, and review some of the things that have failed in the past 31 years. What has failed in our constitution? What has failed in our constitution, you find that there's no way that has failed but implementation. Everything is intact. Section 12 says that a government will do what people expect. But that's not what happens. Section 65 says that if you are in the government, or you enter into the government through this political party as a multi-party dispensation, you cannot cross the floor to the other. If you do so, you lose your seat and you must go back for another elections. That has been banned, or let me say it has not been followed. You understand? Section 91, subsection 1, 2 says that a head of state is immune to any prosecution whenever is involved in any case of corruption and what. That needs to be amended. Because as long as you're a human being, you are liable for mistakes. And once you know that you're immune to any prosecution, you do things, what do they call? You do your things intentionally to say, I cannot be asking questions. And the problem in our constitution that needs to be fixed or reviewed is this point whereby an incumbent government cannot be questioned. You can question the previous government. We need to change that. We are going to say that if we are to fight corruption, we fight a living corruption. Because those ones, they were here, they messed up, they went. You can't go to look for them. When you are wasting your time looking for them, you should know that your government is falling here. So you need to make sure that you fix what you have. So stop corruption in your government so that the money that you are making that period should show to the people that you're doing something.
So what you're basically saying is you're going to use constitutional means to take out the chaff.
Everything is in the constitution. What we just need is to make sure that it must be alive. Because by now it's sleeping. It doesn't have that energy. So we just make it alive so that it must work. And that's where it comes to leadership. Leadership is so important in such kind of mechanism. You need to make sure that each and every nave is functioning. But once you are sleeping or you are not a full leader, then you let the mechanics or the mechanism of the system, you can say it goes off or it sleeps and you cannot do anything. And that's what you have seen. Because, as I tell you, in 2020, we were told that there will be no cent stolen with this government. But the first day the government went in, COVID funds disappeared. And most of the people that were involved are government ministers in the government. But the leaders did not do anything until now. 5 years is gone. We are going to elections. That is the problem of leadership. If you are a leader and you are not active, you don't open your eyes, then you must know that that country is a failed state. You have failed. So it also goes with a leader. A leader must be someone who's awake, because government is serious business. When it's serious business, it wants a serious leader too. And that's what we see that our colleagues have failed. We want to bring in a living leadership, an active leadership, and a system that is functional to make sure that the constitution is breathing. Yeah.
We have time constraints due to our cameras also not being of adequate space. But one last thing that I would like us to dive into is the fact that you're bringing in highly progressive reforms. In fact, we could say that you're not even reforming anything, you're just putting in place what has already been.
It's been.
People, it seems that leaders of Malawi do not care too much about reading. I sense a pompousness about the rule.
If you want to keep money in Malawi, put it in the book. You'll find it.
So people do not want to have understanding. People do not want to use intelligence. And, some would say that it's not even a matter of not wanting to, but it is a pompousness. It is condescending. They believe that positions in government are deserved. So my question is, you're 1 against 26 parties. 23 parties.
Yes.
Who is completely different, who completely stands out.
Yeah.
As you know, human beings are not always quick to change. Say this upcoming elections, you're put in a position where you have to collaborate with the reforms, with everything that you have put in your manifesto and everything that you believe about the country. How are you going to be able to navigate an alliance? 1. And 2, to give you background on this question, we are seeing it now in South Africa. GNU, Government of National Unity, people are pulling each other from different directions. The hair is going left, the hair is going right, the country is barely able to stabilize itself. How are you going to be able to navigate that?
Well, according to our political geopolitics of our country, the demographics of our nation, no one single party can pass in one election and win outright 50+1. That is now a precise, there's no excuse on that. So, Move Chungamo Revolutionary Party has its own objectives and policies that I see that no one will want to go into alliance with us. Because 1, we are a revolution. 2, we are a political party that have seen mistakes and weaknesses in 3 ways. One-party state, multi-party dispensation, including what we call transformation of 2020. Those are weaknesses that as a country we made, and this is why we are poor. So it will be tough for us to say let's create an alliance or form an alliance with other political parties. But there are some situations that you cannot do without, or some situations that you don't have an answer to maybe deal with. But there are other parties that are in the country. Most of them are new, and I'm sure they have got their own ideologies that are also looking at transformation of the country. We'll have to visit each other, we'll have to peruse one another, and only those political parties that have similar or close to what we feel about the country, we can get into alliance. But we are not going to get into an alliance just because we want numbers or we just want a flag on a car, a government car. That has failed in 1994, because in 1994 people don't know. We had the same alliance because UDF by then could not win elections alone. So all political parties that came from exile, they had to make an alliance with UDF. So there are about 6 political parties that came into one party called United Front for Democratic Democracy. We all entered into alliance. It was also by force from the International Community Parties Club forced us to join into UDF, because by then it looked like it's a political party that was feel popular, looking at our demographics. So we entered into that alliance. But it only lasted 1 year. 1 year, UDF did what Magonga's party has done with UTM. At least UTM maybe and Magonga's party, they had some time to 4 years, you understand, before they could start fighting. So with UDF, it was only 1 year. All of us went out of the government. Anyway, we did not announce. One would just go up like that. Some of us went back into exile. So these alliances have been taking place ever since 1994, and they took place in 2020. They are going to take place in 2025. The question now is, who are we going with into bed that has the same blankets, same bed sheets, same type of beds, and same type of mosquito net? Because if we just go with anyone else, others will be suffering from mosquito bites. Just like what happened with Magonga's party and those alliance. You see, most of them went out because mosquitoes biting, while others were comfortable in a mosquito net. So we need to avoid this by looking seriously at, are we there? Are we forming an alliance to save the people, or we are forming an alliance to save our personal interests? That's what matters. So if there's that understanding that we are there to save the country and to look at these weaknesses, because these weaknesses, 3 of them, if they are not fixed, then we must forget about any government change or any country that will be a country of hope. But I'll tell you this, something that I didn't tell you. On that justice and truth, our country is divided. We need to build it into one unitary state. How are we going to do that? Yet we are saying we want to decentralize. We need to bring the people together. We need to introduce a symbol or a syndrome that one Malawi, one people. You understand? Regardless that we are in decentralization or federal system, but we must say there's a slogan, one Malawi, one people. How are we going to do it? We are going to change some of the beliefs whereby we say this politician was killed by that political party. Now, if this government, this party is in power, that one cannot remember. We want to bury that. What we want to do is to introduce one Heroes Day, whereby whether you were in which party and you were killed by this party, whether that one was in what struggle and he was killed by this one, all of them, we put them together as heroes of the country. Because both of them, or maybe let me say all of them, had one reason, a better Malawi. But in the process, with whatever ideology they were following, they were killed. They died. Others went into exile. Others died in the mountains, like Johnny Chirap. We need to bring one name, uniform name for all of them. That is including Kamusbanda's Day. You understand? Kamusbanda's Day and all those people, we must put them in one name, Heroes Day. So each and every political party, each and every tribe, each and every region will come on this day to celebrate or to remember their hero. Whether they use it tribal or they can use it regional, but this is one day. So government will have to sponsor this function whereby all people will come. And that is one way of uniting the country. Secondly, we need to avoid looking or maybe dividing the way we understand heroes. in one way or another, everyone did something for the country. I'm talking about the heroes that passed or those that are living. One way or another, they did their best. Let me talk about the previous presidents. There's Magere Muluzi, there's Joyce Banda, there's Peter Mutharika, there'll be Jagwera. These are leaders that did something one way or another for the country. In other words, these are heroes. So we need to introduce a way where we should always be remembering them by giving one name so that the whole country can come together and celebrate or remember.
I think as a member of the youth, that idea moves me a lot.
Okay.
Because one thing that I hate about politics right now is that we almost make politics a religion.
That's a problem.
We almost make politics a religion. We cannot disagree on tables of debate and leave it there. We bring those disagreements to the dinner table.
Yes.
We cannot disagree in office and leave it there. We bring it and we come and fight on the table. So I believe that is important, because you would also, as movie, need to say, however much corruption, however much pain, Kamuzu did something good for the country.
Exactly.
Joyce Banda did something good for the country.
Exactly.
Only that, I forget the saying in English, but they say wrongdoing isn't always malice.
Exactly.
Sometimes it is ignorance.
Exactly. I'll give you an example of South Africa. South Africa is known as a rainbow nation. That rainbow explains of 7 different colors. Meaning, each and every color had a semblance of good things and a semblance of bad things. I'll give an example of 3 political parties. The ANC, Pan-African Congress, and Inkatha Freedom Party. These 3 parties, if it was in Malawi, we could be fighting till now. But the leadership that came at that time, they said that all of them are heroes. You understand? Pan-African Congress and ANC, Inkatha, they are all heroes. And there is a special recognition to these leaders. So this South Africa will remember Simangali, what they call it, Sobukwe, Robert Sobukwe. They will remember Kacha Buthelezi. They will remember Nelson Mandela. They will remember Oliver Tambo, Clarence Makwetu. All South Africans, they rejoice and recognize these are true heroes of the country. But each one was fighting for their own goal, their own ideology. But at the end of the day, it was for South Africans. Malawi like that. So we need to introduce that whoever died, because in our history there is a lot of tension, whereby you find that Dick Matenje was killed by Nagonga's party, Yaruda Kisiza was killed by Kamuzu Banda. You understand? Oton Chiwa was detained by Kamuzu Banda. Adadi Mpaka was killed in Zimbabwe by Kamuzu Banda. There's got to be a political party that should come and heal these wounds. How do we heal them? Let's get the truth and let justice prevail. If there are those that needs to be charged, they must be charged. If there are those that needs to be forgiven, let them be forgiven. But at the end of the day, we must reconcile as a nation. So for us to put in one blanket, we are saying, these people who were killed, for whatever reasons, they are heroes of this country. Because whatever reason that killed them, it was because they wanted a better Malawi. So Kamuzu Banda is a hero. Oton Chiwa is a hero. Adadi Mpaka is a hero. Yaruda Kisiza is a hero. You understand? John Tembo is a hero because all of them did their work for the betterment of the country. You understand? So to us, we are going to recognize all these people as heroes. Then we are going to give them a special day. And we even want to create a cemetery, a hero's acre, where all these people will be taken, wherever they were buried, put them in one place, including Kamuzu Banda, so that we can unite the country. Because all these leaders have got their followers, have got their regions. So whenever we are remembering them, that's why we're going to meet, shake hands. And all this animosity or tension that is between us will start slowly getting healed. At the end of the day, we have one solid nation.
That's a show. On our next episode, I'd like us to continue the discussion about this next level of Malawi. I remember many of the accounts that came from the passing of Samuel.
Yes.
Many of the accounts had him say one thing, and I believe that is something that we can end this on. Do not divide the nation.
That's fundamental.
That was his fundamental.
Yeah.
So on the next episode, we're going to speak about the possibility of an alliance. What would happen if the movie doesn't get its way?
Yeah.
How it would deal with such squabbles, and delve deeper into this new version of a more united Malawi.
Before we get to that, actually, I wanted to say something here. That when we are looking at uniting this country, diverse as it is, we should also consider more on sacrificing. Because what I see, what lacks here, is sacrificing politicians, leaders that are afraid of sacrificing. Our country as it is, if we are a poor country, but if we had sacrificial leaders that will, constrain their own feelings for the country, Malawi will be better. I'll give an example. In Malawi, we consume more than what we get, what we produce. In Malawi, we live luxury when we are a poor nation. That's why most of our development partners run away. Because they say, you come to beg, you are coming to ask. But what do you get? When you eat here, you are eating 5 times a day. You understand? And you are using, what is the other type of cooking oil? Olive oil. You are using olive oil, but this is a begged money. How can we continue helping you? You understand? So MLP would like to do sacrifices, make sacrifices. In what way? A president is a person that is protected, given maximum security, maximum support. There should be sacrifices. How? Salaries of a president, benefits of a president must be trimmed. Salaries of ministers and public officers must be trimmed. How are we going to trim that? Currently, all leaders, politicians, we join politics because we are looking for decent burial, a state funeral, and we are looking at private medical facilities. You understand? And these are taking a lot of our resources. So in MLP, we are going to make sacrifices by saying a president and any public officer, minister, member of parliament, principal secretary, all those, they should go to a public facility when they are sick. And this is a good trick because it will make these technocrats, these administrators, to make sure that they put more emphasis in hospitals because they know they are beneficiaries. So if we do that, we'll find that even beds in hospitals are well looked at, new, cared for. Even food will start to be distributed. For now, hospitals don't produce food. Hospital beds, if you look at them, they have got the cockroaches everywhere. And if they are mattress, you are lucky. Most of them are sleeping on the floor. You know why? Because politicians have not made any sacrifice. Because then they know that when they are sick, they are going to be flown to overseas or outside Malawi, outside borders for treatment. So they will go to South Africa, a very expensive hospital clinic. They'll go to Egypt, to India. You understand? Let's talk about education too. All politicians, there's a privilege of their children be given government support, sponsorship from creche. And you know what? This posh life that we live in Malawi is very disgracing because we choose our kids to go to high colleges that are very expensive. And that is the consumption. Now we will overlook medication in hospitals, overlook facilities in hospitals, overlook upgrading education in Malawi because we are looking at these incentives. So a government that must come, like in our MRP, we want to come in and make sacrifices. That we make it maybe 10 years. No government official going to private hospital. No government official or child goes to private school. We save that money. so that we can now produce what Malawians expect in hospitals and in schools. If we do that, there will be no one learning under the tree. If we do that, there will be abundant medicines in hospitals, and there will be quality beds. You understand? So the problem that we're saying, an alliance will come, but are these colleagues that are coming to join us, or we are going to? Now, a person like me who slept in the bush of Morogoro for the sake of Malawi, a person like me who was in the bushes of Chimoyo for the sake of Malawi, a person like me who sacrificed my life not to go to high school, get high education degrees because of the country, I would easily sacrifice. Because to me, I'm completing my life cycle. Now the question is, will the alliance be allowed by these other political parties? That's a trick. So we can leave that to the country to decide. But we will put it to the people to say, this is who we are. What do you think? I just want to add on that one.
That has been a show. Thank you for watching. Share to anybody who needs to hear it. And we'll be back again.
Thank you very much.